Hey there, Postal here. So today we're going to be looking at a trio of Tier 4 light fighters. We're going to start off with the Bristol 146, as you see here. Going to show us probably the least popular of these three, the HE 112 Tier 4 German fighter, and then probably the most popular of the three of these, the BF 109B. Let's go ahead and hop in. Alright, so Autism Ops asked me to do a review on the Bristol 146 a really long time ago, and I feel like a putz because I haven't gotten around to doing it. I did post a video on the Bristol 133 with my youngest. He's not available today. He's doing his thing. But I did still want to post a video on the 146, and then I was also asked to do a review on the 112, which, to be honest, was a plane I don't even remember playing, but I did play it. And I figured, well, since I'm doing the two of those, let's kind of compare them to the BF 109B. And the reason I want to do that is because if we look at each of these aircraft in ye old hangar, they're kind of a progression, so to speak, or two ends of a teeter-totter, let's say. On one end here, you've got the decent airspeed, at least for Tier 4, low maneuverability, and pretty darn high altitude performance, again, for Tier 4. And as you go in this direction down to the Bristol, you get less airspeed, but more maneuverability, less altitude performance. And it literally goes that way. In the middle here, you've got middle airspeed, middle maneuverability, and middle altitude performance. And we'll definitely go over details of each of those in part. So let's start off with the Bristol 146. So what is this plane? This plane is the Tier 4 plane that you would see going down the British fighter line. So if you're going down the Spitfire line, this is the last plane before you get to the Spitfires, when you start with the Supermarine Spitfire 1. And quite a lot of similarities between this plane and those Spitfires. If you look at the gun layout, you don't have those Hispanos yet, but you've got the 303 Brownings that you should be used to. You've got decent maneuverability for this tier. It's not zero, A6M type or Key 43 kind of maneuverability, but pretty darn maneuverable for what you're looking for. In the middle here, you've got the HE 112. So where is this plane? This plane is on one of the German lines. It's kind of a disjointed German fighter line. You're coming down here towards the BVPs. You have the ability to bounce back to light fighters towards the center here. Technically, you can even go down the MEP 1101 line. So from this one line, you can actually get 3 different Tier 10s, which is kind of cool. But what is the plane itself? Well, the plane itself, like we mentioned, is got okay maneuverability, actually, especially for a German plane, because the Germans aren't known for their maneuverability. But it does sacrifice that airspeed and altitude performance for that. We do have pretty cool guns on this plane, in my opinion. And in my opinion, they're the strongest guns, or at least the strongest potential. You have 2 20mm cannons. They're a little bit shorter range, 1900 feet. Your 30mm cannons, 30 cal cannons, oh my god, the 30 caliber machine guns that are on here are very short range. And so this plane is one of those plane types that really needs to get up behind a plane, an enemy. And yeah, it says 1900 feet on the range for the 20mm cannons, but you really want to be about 1700 feet. 1500 feet even better, because then you'll start feeling some of the machine guns hitting it. But it's got got a decent engine. It's got a pretty well balanced plane, to be honest. I like the way it looks too, although it does seem like it's got very short wings on it. But it is what it is. Last but not least, we have our BF 109B. So you may have noticed on here, you have the ability to go down this BF 109 line. BF 109 line is by far the more popular fighter line for the Germans ends up at the MEP 1101, although you can kind of sneak over to the FW 252, but why would you if you can get an 1101? So from this line you do have the option of getting 2 different tier 10 planes, I guess technically 3 if you jump over to the ME 262s. Why is this plane by far and away the more popular of the 2 fighters? Well, it's because it's got really good altitude performance for tier 4. Yeah, it's not the best maneuverability, but it's not terrible. But you're going to be out dogfighted, you know what I mean? You're going to be outturned by the majority of the other fighters at this level. This plane's really good at going after multi-rolls and heavies, though. The guns that you have on it, you have only one 20 mil cannon, but it's hub mounted, it's center mounted. It's got a little bit longer range by only 60 feet than the 2 20 mil cannons on your HE-112. But you've also got a bunch of your 30 cal machine guns on here, and so that can make a difference. You've got 2 on the hub and then 2 on the wing, and so you just can do that death by 1,000 paper cuts kind of thing that you can't do on the HE-112. And all you do on a Bristol 146 is death by 1,000 paper cuts, because you've got these little guys that only go 1,400 feet and do 25 damage per second. Cumulative is 200 damage a second there. So where you've got this plane, your Bristol 146, is kind of a quintessential Spitfire. It really leads very well into the Spitfire line. Lower altitude, great maneuverability for its tier, yada yada yada. The BF-109B sets you up perfectly for the BF-109 line. It's got okay maneuverability and great altitude performance for its tier and pretty good airspeed. This will set you up for all the rest of the BF-109s. The HE-112 is a little disjointed, right? We just mentioned it. After this, you go to tier 5. You can get to the BF-109E, or you can get to the FW-190. Neither of them are the playstyle of an HE-112. I really like this line, but again, it's not an HE-112. When you get to the TA-152, when you get back to the light fighters, it's not anything like an HE-112. So this portion of the line, this portion of this tech tree, is a little discombobulated, right? But it's tier 4, so you've got the ability to take a plane that you feel fits your playstyle the best. HE-112 might not necessarily be the extreme like a Bristol or a BF-109 as far as extreme maneuverability or extreme altitude performance, but there is something to be said with that kind of sweet spot in the middle. Kind of play this like you would a multi-roll. You can outmaneuver the planes you can outmaneuver, but you try to outspeed or out-altitude the ones that you can't outmaneuver. Let's take some gameplay here. Let's start with the Bristol and see what we can do in this particular plane. I only have a 1-point pilot in it. I should probably do something like, I don't know, firefighter, I guess, just because. I suppose I should probably give you guys a heads up. If you're getting points for this plane, and really for any of the Spitfire planes, I recommend when you get your second point, go for Marksman 1, and then go for Engine Guru 1. In the meantime, if you have like an extra point lying around, can't go wrong with Firefighter. It's not really a necessity with the Spitfire line. They don't tend to catch on fire too much, but just in case, Firefighter's not a bad gig. I tend to keep Firefighter because for my service I'll have as a consumable first aid. That way I don't need to use a fire extinguisher even on planes that catch on fire a lot. I'll just have the Firefighter skill. And so that would be the recommendation on the first 4 points that you have on this plane. After that, it's arguable. Do you want to go for aerodynamic expert? Do you want to try to get a next level on the Engine Guru or the Marksman? You've got enough guns. I don't really think you need the Marksman 2 right away anyway. I would really recommend going for the aerodynamics expert, and that way you can kind of supplement your airframe and engine once you specialize this plane. That's my opinion on that. Let's hop into a game. Alright, we're in that cool map that I wish they had in some night maps in higher tiers. Tier 4 battle, Tier 4 map, versus the highest is Mr. H-Balls. AR-2. I don't know if our altitude performance will allow us to go after bombers. We'll see if it's even something that's needed. First things first, Let's just go get this military base. So in this kind of map, you know, I always like to try to get a garrison, get some points coming in. I suppose the argument could be made to still do that, just to flip a freaking garrison. But this is a military base. This isn't a air base. This isn't something that's, you know, just another sector. Owning this, I could just sit here and own this sector and win the game because the military base will do the rest. And this is one of those plane types that's good at just sitting in a sector. Granted, it's not a yak. It's not a, you know, an I-16. Is pretty good maneuverability. You know, those zeros, those planes are going to be the ones that can just completely own a sector like this. But this is well-rounded enough and maneuverable enough to where I can sit here and do what I need to do. Now I need to keep in mind that these machine guns, as many of them as there are don't have the range to really do anything like at 2,000 feet. I've only got 1,400 feet, and so, you know, even 1,800 feet is going to be too far away. I've already used all my boost. I don't want to stall out here. Got a bomber up top. Oh, bomber's actually kind of low. Hey, because it's a Soviet bomber. Thank you, Soviet bombers! Best thing wargaming ever did. It's not true, I'm sure, but it does feel good to be able to like have something that your multi-rolls can go after as far as bombers are concerned. So I'm going after the planes I can go after. You can't force the altitude situation in this plane, but you can see what the 200 damage per second can do if a plane allows you to get behind them. Thing of it is you've got stinky low range, right? So let's go ahead, a little tappity tap, help get him. I think there's a bomber going below us. Let's turn back around. I don't have no boost, and yeah, look, I'm 2,000 feet away and I still can't shoot this guy. So Blenheim's coming in hot and heavy. He's not paying attention to us, so I can go after him. See, the human bomber is way the heck up there. But just like I was saying, I'm not going to be spending too much energy going up high. It's just not. It's not going to work out for me. It looks like there's a ground attack plane there, and there's this guy is what I need to get. Get rid of him, and then I can attack the ground attack planes. Maybe. Another Hawk. Hawk, I know I can outmaneuver the American planes, so we'll do that. Let's get some of these ground attack planes knocked out. Excellent. Let's go carry out this strike, shall we? Excellent. More guys coming inbound. You are just a light fighter, so you can't necessarily hit on people, and by the time you can shoot them, especially in a head-on, they've probably been able to shoot you for a while, right? So remember, the short-range guns on this plane can be just really quite detrimental, but you've got the maneuverability to get behind people and hurt them. The key is to not put yourself in a position to where they have an advantage. Alright, so we've got this sector. Let's do what we can to own this sector. Golly, gee whiz. Tell this video is for somebody who doesn't need cussing. But man, it feels like the engine power on this, and I've got the top engine, right? The oomph is lacking on this plane for sure, right? And so it's just another reason why you don't want to get outside your altitude bracket, because you'll be just kind of left out to dry. Even 1,600 feet. So I'm only at 100 miles an hour. It's just not going to cut it. I'm just going the straight line here to get some speed back. You know, tier 4 speed. See if we can get this bomber knocked out really quickly. Maybe. No, let's turn back around. Again, wasting my own time, breaking my own rule here. Dang it, they got it. Alright, let's see what we can do to get it flipped back. Luckily we've got 2 sectors as it were. So we're still getting more points than they are. And we'll see if we can get this sector back. Probably killed him too quickly. Don't know if I set him on fire or not. It doesn't matter. Somebody else got him. I don't care. I'm not that greedy. Not right now anyway. Whew! Wasn't sure if that was going to work out for me. The only reason I continued heading on that guy is because he was at less health than I was. So I-16 can probably outmaneuver me if he's paying attention, but he's not. And so... something's near me. There it is. I could hear the bullets. And so yeah, coming over to this sector and just kind of spinning around was definitely the right move. There were no zeros on the enemy team. There's no, you know, the I-16 wasn't paying a whole heck of a lot of attention. No I-17. So, you know, this was the right place to go to. And you have to pay attention when you start up a game. You say, okay, what can outmaneuver me? If my bread and butter is maneuver, you know, what is the dangerous plane? What's the plane that's going to be the hard counter to my maneuverability? Don't you hate like when you're in like a super fast plane, but then you show up like you're in a like a Horton 229, and then you show up and there's a freaking 262, something like that can easily keep up with you and annoy you. So anyway, paid attention to what could, but I knew that I was going to be the top dog when it came to maneuverability, and I could own that sector. So that's what we did. Let's head on back. Alright, so we were able to get 14 frags, 2,300 damage, which I guess is okay for tier 4. 14,000 personal points. We had 560 capture points, which was literally just staying at that sector for the most part and defending. We did capture it. I guess we captured it twice now that I think about it, but a lot of the capture points were actually just defending it. We were able to help you know, our ground attack plane own that particular sector, and by us being a pain in the butt at that mining missile base, it allowed our ground attack to really go off and do what he needed to do, while their AR-2 and their GAs had to continually keep coming at me. So I was setting the pace of that battle, right? Because I was able to sit there and just kind of spin and own it. Let's go ahead and take a look at the BF-109 now and see how different this particular plane plays. Now I've got the first 5 points on this. I do have the Marksman 1. I've got the Engine Guru 1 on this plane. Again, kind of like the Bristol, it doesn't really need Firefighter, but it got a point lying around. Kind of tempted to maybe use Eagle-Dyed. Probably not. So we'll just get this one just to at least have a point being used for something. And we've got to remember, we've got that pretty strong cannon on the center, but otherwise we've got the machine guns on the side. Let's take a look at a game in this particular plane. Alright, so the beginning of the 109 line, right? We here are in a tier 5 battle, and the bombers are tier 4, so that's, I guess, is pretty good. Now we got an ME-209, which doesn't have quite the, it's a fast plane without good guns, right? But what we are looking at here as far as the map is concerned is a bunch of mining facilities, which we're not going to be able to do much versus. And then we got the 2 garrisons in the center. So let's go ahead and get this garrison that's closest to us, get some points started rolling in. The key to this plane is to get the hub-mounted cannon on target. If you can do that, you're going to have quite a bit of success. I'm trying to make wide turns here. Every time I think I'm going against a plane, though, where I'm going to be on its tail, I might end up coming right at it. So, want to get behind this heavy because you've got that big cannon. It can do a decent amount of damage versus these heavies. Hello, plane. So I'm trying to go that route. I think I want to be a pain in the butt to their bombers and things over here. That ME-209 is over here, so that's another good reason to head this way. Let's go ahead and get some altitude, though. He's got a rather weak gun, so I don't think he's going to be killing our bomber anytime soon. Well, I mean, relatively. What I need to watch out for is him just kind of sneaking up on me in general. I think I've got the ability to outmaneuver him. That plane is just completely based for speed. And so I'd like to think I can outmaneuver him if needed. Just trying not to overheat my gun, but it's not working very well. Seriously, wow. Was not expecting that, especially once I passed him. I didn't think I even touched him, but okay. I'm gonna assume that was some ramming damage of some sort. I should have turned a little bit sooner, I suppose, although like I said, I don't really feel like I actually hit him. But it'd be what it'd be. We did take over the center, so that's very nice. Let's go ahead and get this garrison, since we can get a garrison pretty easily in this plane. We've got the other mining facility, so we're not in any kind of desperate situation, right? Use our altitude performance there to come in from on top. Let's go ahead and get back up to a decent altitude, because our our win is going to be based on our ability to be higher up than everybody else. Get a nice decent hit in there with our cannon. We can outmaneuver these multi-rolls of this tier, so that's a good thing. It's pulling us back down though, which is kind of frustrating. But it is what it is. Just trying to pay attention to the heavy planes. See what else is around us here. Blenheim. A lot going on around us here, isn't there? Hurricanes can be a big pain in the butt, especially Hurricane 2. I mean, Hurricane 1 is kind of a pain in the butt, but Hurricane 2 even more so. If it gets its guns on you. But again, I'm trying to use my altitude. That way I can, come down on guys. Ugh, that sounds weird, and attack them in a way that they can't really do anything about it. It's continually telling me that that guy is the closest one. Oh, there is. Okay, good. Obviously, he's got pretty good altitude performance. I didn't think the 209 had the best altitude performance, but what do I know? Certainly going to the extreme. P-43 definitely does not have good altitude performance. He's just coming up here to kill me because, bots and reasons. And for this one I am just holding down my trigger because my machine guns will kill him. But you can see I'm so freaking high up that I can do what I want. I can dictate the engagement. Let's go ahead and get this guy just because, and I'm hitting my brakes because I know I'm going to be going so freaking fast, and it still didn't work. This plane is pretty quick. Nope. Don't dogfight if you can't. If you can't get on them. Lag is pretty maneuverable multi-roll. Missed most of my shots with this plane. Jeez. Got a heavy fighter coming in, so I'm turning back around. Excellent. Turning back around again. I'm trying to line up the next target, so to speak, so that way I know that I can keep my momentum. It really is important to keep your momentum in this plane, because again, that's your bread and butter. That's what's going to win you a game. That's what's going to keep you alive. Is keeping your speed, keeping a decent altitude. Don't necessarily need to keep a decent altitude if everybody's down low. P-38 shouldn't be down this low either. But I think we're going to be okay in this battle. P-38 is pulling me away though, so let's get him if we can. And let's keep on moving, get this other garrison. I can't keep with a P-38. I know that, so rather than trying to chase him down, let's go over here. Get some of these guys. I think that P-38F is looking at me. He's getting chased by something though, so that's good. Excellent, we got the sector. That's the end of that. So now we've got just this P-38, and we'll have a pretty solid game there. Let's head on back. Alright, so as you can see here, we were able to get 10 frags, nothing too crazy. Another 2,000 damage to air targets. And, do what needed to be done there. Fortunately, had a miscue with that 209 on the head-on, but it is what it is. But we went where we needed to go, right? And what we really wanted to do in that kind of situation was make sure that we were able to just kind of pay attention to the battle, pay attention to the planes, and not put ourselves in a position to that we regretted. Basically is what it came down to. Take the time to make swooping lines, make attack runs, kind of like you would in a heavy plane, and you've got just enough maneuverability. If you need to stick with somebody for just a little while longer, you can do that. But you saw there very often I'd make a decision to not continue to turn with somebody and continue my momentum, because your momentum in this plane, much like the rest of the BF-109 line, your momentum is going to be saving you more often than not. Didn't get to use my altitude performance too much, but you could see how much higher I could go before I really had any kind of issues. So that's the BF-109B. Excellent plane. It's on a lot of people's tier 4 favorite fighter list, if people have those lists. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at the HE-112. So we've looked at the Bristol 146, the maneuverable lowish altitude, highish maneuverability. We've looked at the BF-109B, which is highish altitude and not the best maneuverability. This plane right here is kind of stuck in between the two of them, right? You've got almost a second less on the maneuverability, but you've got less when I'm talking about the BF-109, but you've got less altitude performance and less airspeed. But these guns, if we can get these guns on target, we can do some damage, right? So let's see what we can do with these 20 mil cannons and how well we can play. Alright, I know I've said it already, but I actually quite like the look of the HE. Kind of short on the wingspan, but overall just the aesthetics of it, I really quite like it. Alright, so what we're doing here is taking a quick look at the map, another night map, because of course, tier 4. And we want to make a quick assessment. What's the most important sector? Oh no! I forgot this battle had fireworks in it. Alright, so much like we did with the Bristol game. I'm leaving the garrison behind. I'm going for this command center, and that way we can have some of those bombers inbound, and we can start winning the game that way. This plane can't own a sector like a Bristol can, or a Yak, or a Zero, but what it can do is kind of find a balanced attack, right? So I'm taking a look at what's coming in, and I'm deciding what's going to be the best thing to attack. What is going? Where can I be most impactful? All right. So what we're doing here is taking advantage of planes that are at a low energy state. If they can outmaneuver us. And then we're putting our guns on target on the heavy planes and the multi-rolls that we know can't outmaneuver us. Sure wish I had some engine power. Got the engine knocked out there. Right now I'm just being mindful, making sure nobody can come in behind me. You can see just how strong these guns are when they hit. Kaboom, right? So that's the difference between this plane and the other two planes that we've looked at. More fireworks! We want to take the steps to getting the cannons on target. Not getting them too good on target there versus that GA, but that's fine. We've got this sector. They've got a garrison. They've had the garrison for quite a while. We haven't been able to get our garrison, unlike in the last battle. The bots or the friendlies did not get a garrison. So turned around a little bit too tight on that ground attack plane. Wasn't able to get my guns on target, and failed basically in my mission. So my thought process here is, well, let's help the bombers get that garrison. Also get me stuck in versus a lot of the planes near their spawn point. And again, I'm trying to feel out the capabilities of this plane. When I first went down the line, I wasn't, like assessing the plane and what is the best way to play it. It's tier 4, and I just wanted to get to the FW190s, and I wasn't really thinking about this plane in general. The more that I play it, though, the more I can see this plane being something that I actually keep. Now, I'm not trying to be like hyperbolic or anything like that. I'm not sure this plane is the best tier 4 fighter at, well, not tier 4, but it can do so much, and I love that I can kind of, if I need to take out a heavy plane, if I need to take out a multi-roll, you've got that strength with this plane. If you need to dogfight a little bit, you can do that. Just don't get really stuck in sometimes. So we see this Bristol over here. Obviously, my goal is to take out any plane that can easily take me out. So I at first was using my energy to go after him, but seeing that there's actually a multi-roll coming near me, I want to get rid of him. Now we've got this Bristol. He wasn't paying attention, so it was okay for me to do what I need to do. And you see, my altitude performance is allowing me to, I'm still in the, in the optimum area. And so he's at was at the extreme of my range there. So he saw me kind of tapping. I know that he is above his optimum altitude bracket, and so that means I can outmaneuver him, or at least outmaneuver him enough at this range. He didn't even try to turn with me, so I was pretty confident in this situation that I would be able to outmaneuver him anyway, just because he's too high. Turn around, get on him, and again, I'm tapping those guns. You need to do that sometimes, especially when they're cannons that overheat pretty quickly. If you learn how to do that well at this level, when you get some of those planes that have like 230s and no help, you'll be able to play those pretty well. This Skua, if I remember correctly, was a real pain in the butt to get rid of. Those rear gunners at this level can be a pain in the butt. Don't crash, what the heck? And I still haven't learned my lesson about turning around too quickly. You want to give some... I did put more fireworks out though. You do want to give yourself enough time to actually get as much damage as possible. And in that situation, and I think another time earlier, I was turning too early, and that way I wasn't able to get my guns on target quick enough. So I'm paying attention to the map. What's inbound? What am I going to be using the least energy to intercept? Got this Bristol coming back here. Again, I'm prioritizing the guys that I know can just simply outmaneuver me. Basically get rid of the guys that can easily get rid of me. And that'll allow me to be able to take out those that might have more speed or heavier hitting guns. And so then we've gone ahead and done that. So I got the SCUA again. There's a P-30 something over there. It's now dead. And again, tap, tap, tap. Until I hear those guns registering, and then you might see me kind of hold it down a little bit more. Kablooey. Alright, so now we're over here at their garrison, basically. So we're going to be having a lot of planes coming out and spawning and just coming over to the garrison. So this is a prime spot to be if I just want to kind of defend a sector, right? The key is that I'm paying attention to those planes that might, well, be hurtful. BF-110B can be really destructive, and so I need to pay attention to that. The Bristols, obviously. Anything that can outmaneuver me, we'll see. Okay, so what do we got going on here? So we got a GA, which has had some issues with just being able to take it out, not necessarily having issues with it hurting us. But we can't spend our energy on that, right? We're basically putting our butts facing the enemy in that kind of situation, and you don't want to be doing that. So let's go ahead and see what we can do. I felt that this particular plane was going to be the biggest pain, and so I was aiming for him, but now I see that the Bristol's over here, so let's go ahead and aim for him. We've knocked out his engine, and Squall Line just came through, so bad timing for him. Let's see what we can do versus these multi-rolls. I know I can outmaneuver them, I just don't want to get, you know, killed trying to head them on. So wiggled a little bit there, and you know, now it's two humans, so they're definitely going to be there, and they are focusing me down as they should be because I've taken them out enough. And let's see what we can do here. Keep on spinning. I'm aiming for the in this kind of situation, I'm aiming for the plane that I can kill, right? I just killed 2 planes. Yeah, it took me off of my quote-unquote main objective here, but it allowed it to be just 1 plane to deal with rather than 3, and it didn't completely, you know, throw me off. So this is, you know, one of the, I think, second time I've played this HE-112. I wasn't quite sure of my turning capability. I would have thought I could have outmaneuvered a SCUA. It didn't quite work that way. I wasn't playing it, you know, to the best of my capabilities, but we were going so slow. My plan there was to kind of boost off and then turn around and knock him out. All right, and we're basically at the end of this battle. Just putting ourselves in a position to own the sectors that we would needed to own. And by being over at this sector, I was able to intercept them before they could go anywhere else, after we got the most important sector, which was that command center. Ended up with a pretty good battle here. I was definitely surprised. You know, I was just kind of cruising around. So let's head back. Alright, and so with the HE-112, I think the biggest difference between this plane and the other 2 planes that we've compared them to is how hard it hits. When those 20... at this level, tier 4, to be in a fighter with 2 20mm cannons is kind of unique. It's not unheard of by any means, but the majority of the tier 4 fighters in the game are kind of weak on the gun side. And granted, these are very short-range guns, but you're in an airframe that can actually work with that. You've got the airspeed, you've got the altitude performance, you can kind of balance that out, right? And you know, granted, I've got this plane fully upgraded as far as the engines are concerned, and the airframe and the guns. You definitely need these 20mm cannons to be any good in the HE-112. But it's a well-balanced machine. Like, not too turny, not too unmaneuverable, not too low altitude. It's got quite a nice balance to it. And so before, I would have told you just looking at the stats on the planes, I would have said, well, there's no reason to get the HE-112. You know, looking at the tech tree as we did earlier. You know, the only reason would be to get BVP, the Batwings, which is a good reason to do it. I mean, they're good planes. I like the FW-190s as well, so this is a good part of the line, but at tier 10, you're going to want the P1101 over any of these two planes. And so my recommendation would have been to go down a BF-109 line or to go down the Spitfire line, the Bristols, the 133, the 146. But as far as a tier 4 plane is concerned, they're all really good in their own way. For tier 4, don't spin that into being anything over the top crazy. Tier 4 can be a lot of fun. It can also be a pain in the butt if you run into a bunch of those tier 5s. That's when the bots get more difficult, is tier 5. So tier 5 battles, even though you're in a tier 4 plane, can be more difficult. That being said, these three planes, the Bristol 146, the BF-109B, and the HE-112 are all really strong planes in their own ways, and you can't really go wrong with any one of them, to be honest. You just have to make sure that you're completely aware of your plane's capabilities, its strengths, and its weaknesses. Bristol 146, is the turniest of this group. A pretty well-balanced turn fighter, right? I'd rather have something that has a little bit of altitude performance and a little bit of airspeed like this has compared to something like Zero. Zero might have stronger guns, but I think this is more my style when it comes to turn fighters at tier 4. BF-109B, you've got that great altitude performance. You've got just enough maneuverability to work with, but airspeed and altitude performance are what this plane is about, and it's building you for success on this whole line, which is about altitude and airspeed. Really nice hub-mounted gun, good accuracy with that because it's going to be the center of your reticle, and you've got the supplemental machine guns on the sides here. HE-112, like I said, I know I flew it at one point. It was kind of a revelation coming back and flying this again. I quite enjoy this. You've got two really strong 20mm cannons on here and a very well-balanced airframe, and that well-balanced airframe is key, honestly. So treat this kind of like you would a multi-roll. And what I mean by that is a multi-roll, you assess a quick interaction and you say, okay, am I going to be the guy that outmaneuvers the plane I'm going against, or am I going to be the guy that tries to out-altitude the plane I'm going against? When I was going against those Bristols, I knew I used my altitude performance to take them on. If I had to go against the BF-109 or previous games went in against like a Hawk 75 or a P-40 or a P-36, those have higher speed and higher altitude performance, so I use my maneuverability when I'm in the HE-112 against those. And so that's what I mean as far as use this as a multi-role, is assess the situation and say what is my strength compared to this plane I'm fighting against. So keep that in mind for the HE-112. This is probably the more thinking needs to go into this plane, but I think, in my opinion, I think it's got the best gun loadout. You saw how I was able to melt those heavies and those. I was having some difficulty versus the GAs, ground attack planes, but bombers and heavies and multi-rolls for sure were pretty well melting as soon as the guns started hitting. So I hope this was a helpful video. I definitely enjoyed playing it. I don't go down to tier 4 all that often, but it was fun to hop down and do it. And yeah, so thank you so much for joining me. I hope this helps, gives a little perspective on these three planes, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.